Have you ever wondered if checking into room 217 at the Stanley Hotel isn't just a booking, but a descent into the very madness that birthed The Shining, where the walls don't just whisper secrets, they scream them back at you until you're begging to check out forever? Imagine sliding that antique key into the lock, the door creaking open like a coffin lid, and realizing too late that the ghosts of forgotten children aren't playing hide-and-seek, they're hunting you. This is the true horror of the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, where in October 2024, one ordinary night for a skeptical traveler turned into a symphony of spectral terror that still echoes through the Rockies, like a curse you can't outrun. We're talking about Sarah Jenkins, a 32-year-old graphic designer from Denver, who thought a solo weekend amid the golden aspens would spark her creativity, but instead ignited a nightmare ripped straight from Stephen King's fevered dreams. Picture the scene. The Stanley, that grand 1909 behemoth perched on a hill like a watchful predator. Its sweeping verandas bathed in the bruised purples of dusk, the air crisp with pine and something darker, something rotten beneath the polish. Sarah, no stranger to late nights and looming deadlines, had laughed off the legends during her drive up US 36, the winding road that snakes through the Roosevelt National Forest like veins pulsing with ancient blood. She'd devoured the lore, sure, the way King himself had in 1974, when he and Tabitha checked in off-season. The hotel nearly empty, the dining room echoing with ghostly orchestral tapes, and that fateful night in room 217, where his son became fodder for fire hose demons in his subconscious. But Sarah? She was all logic, pixels, and Prosecco, booking the infamous room for the irony. Because who wouldn't want to sleep where the master of horror found his muse? Arriving at 4 p.m. sharp, the lobby enveloped her like a velvet trap, polished oak paneling gleaming under chandeliers that dripped crystal tears, the faint perfume of aged roses clinging to the velvet settees. And behind the mahogany desk, a concierge with silver hair coiled like a serpent, and eyes like polished obsidian sliding the brass key across with a smile that curled just a fraction too slow. "Enjoy your stay, dear," she purred, her voice a silk noose. "And remember, the past has a way of catching up here, especially in 217. Sarah chuckled, tipping her 20, hefting her leather weekender bag up the grand staircase, the crimson carpet muffling her steps like fresh blood on snow, past portraits of stern Stanleys whose painted gazes followed her ascent. Freelan Oscar himself staring down with that inventor's gleam, as if he knew the gas lamps he installed in 1911 would one day birth a housekeeper's ghost and a novelist's apocalypse. Room 217 waited at the end of the second-floor hall, its door a slab of dark walnut etched with faint claw marks, or so the shadows suggested in the fading light. She twisted the key, the lock yielding with a sigh that sounded almost human, and stepped into Victorian splendor. A four-poster canopy bed swathed in starched white linens that whispered against the floorboards. A marble fireplace yawning like an open grave, its mantel cluttered with porcelain figurines frozen in eternal dances and tall sash windows framing the encroaching forest, where elk silhouettes grazed under a sky bleeding orange into indigo. The air was cool, laced with lavender sachets and something metallic, like copper pennies left too long in damp pockets. Sarah unpacked methodically, her sketchpad flopping onto the needlepoint armchair, her bottle of Napa Valley Cabernet uncorked with a satisfying pop, the minibar's complimentary glasses clinking as she poured a generous measure, the deep red swirling like congealed wounds. She settled cross-legged on the Aubusson rug pencils, scratching visions of twisted aspens and jagged peaks, the fire she'd lit crackling companionably, casting golden flickers that danced like fireflies on the walls, or were they fingers pale and insistent tracing the wallpaper's faded florals? By 9 p.m., the world outside had surrendered to night, the hotel's lights winking out one by one, until only her room's glow pierced the velvet dark, a beacon for whatever lurked in the pines. She toasted her solitude, the wine warming her veins like forbidden knowledge, and by 11, the sketches piled high. She dimmed the brass lamp, the bed enveloping her like a shroud, the linens cool and crisp against her skin. The distant hoot of an owl, the last sound before sleep, claimed her. Fitful and shallow, dreams threading through fog where children in knickers chased hedge maze shadows, their laughter tinny and wrong, like bells tolling underwater. It hit at 2:17 a.m., that unholy hour when the veil thins and the dead grow bold, a jolt like ice water down her spine, yanking her from slumber with the peal of children's giggles. Not joyful romps, but muffled, echoing cackles seeping from the plaster as if the walls were honeycombs of trapped souls pressing outward, desperate for air. Sarah bolted upright, heard a war drum in her chest, sheets tangled like restraints. The room bathed in moonlight, slicing through the curtains in silver blades, illuminating nothing but the familiar shapes. The wardrobe's bulk like a crouching beast, the vanity's mirror reflecting her wide-eyed pallor, the fireplace now ash-cold and silent. "Get a grip," she hissed to the empty air, her voice swallowed by the hush, rationalizing it as wind through ill-fitted panes, though the forecast had promised dead calm 0 miles per hour, not a leaf stirring in the valley below. She fumbled for her iPhone on the nightstand, fingers brushing the lacquered wood, and that's when the drawer whispered open. Slow as a lover's exhale, revealing not her charger but a yellowed index card scripted in looping ink faded to rust. Red rum. Her breath caught, a vice clamping her lungs, because red rum was murder spelled backward, straight from King's pages. A prop from the gift shop downstairs, surely. Left by some prankster maid. But how? The laughter swelled, then no longer distant, but intimate, circling the bed like wolves on the prowl, tiny feet pattering on the floorboards in a macabre game of tag dips in the mattress, as invisible weights bounced with gleeful malice springs, creaking in rhythm to the chorus of mirth. Sarah's skin prickled, every hair erect, the air thickening to syrup, heavy with the scent of ozone and something sweeter, like boiled cabbage from the hotel's kitchens. Or was it rot, the first whiff of decay? She lunged for the door, bare feet slapping cold planks, flinging it wide to the hallway's abyss, the runner carpet, a blood-red river stretching into shadow, and at its far end, a flicker. A little girl in a starched pinafore back, turned head cocked, as if eavesdropping on the void, her braids twin ropes dangling like nooses. "Hey!" Sarah's cry cracked like brittle bone, echoing back, mocking the figure not turning but dissolving into mist that curled like cigarette smoke, leaving the corridor humming with that infernal titter, now joined by a deeper timbre, a man's gravelly chuckle slithering from the vents. Back inside, barricading with the desk chair, Sarah's phone finally lit up, 2:17 glowing accusatory, and she dialed the front desk. Whispers frantic, ghosts, children, help. The concierge's voice silk over steel, calm as a sedative. "Room 217 often has lively guests, miss. Try the hedge maze at dawn. It clears the mind." Click. The line dead as a doornail. Desperation clawed, she huddled in the clawfoot tub porcelain, a flimsy fortress, the room beyond erupting in chaos. The fireplace roaring to inferno without match or kindling flames, leaping to lick the mantel, scorching the wood-black shadows, writhing on the walls like imps, unchained elongated fingers, scraping the ceiling in frantic Morse. The bed heaved then, not earthquake but poltergeist playground, invisible sprites trampolining with abandon, the frame groaning as if tortured, linens twisting into serpents that slithered toward the door. Sarah's screams mingled with the din, her nails raking tub enamel, visions flashing. King's nightmare of his son strangled by hose. The Overlook's elevator vomiting blood. The twin girls in blue dresses. Come play with us, forever and ever. Their eyes black voids promising eternity in isolation. Hours blurred, sweat soaking her nightshirt, the cacophony ebbing only as false dawn grayed the windows, the room falling still as a tomb, the card crumpled in her fist, its ink smudged like tears. She fled at 6 a.m., tires screeching down the access road, the Stanley shrinking in her rear view like a bad dream, but the scars lingered, welts on her psyche that no therapist could erase. Weeks later, scouring Reddit threads and TripAdvisor rants, Sarah unearthed a chorus of corroboration from 2024 alone. a Seattle couple in September, claiming the giggles named their lost twins. Details plucked from family albums never shared. A podcaster from Austin in August, capturing EVPs of Here's Johnny rasped in reverse. A honeymooner from L.A. in July, bolting at 3 a.m. after the drawer birthed note cards scrawled with all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. The Stanley's own logs, whispered among staff, tally over 500 incidents annually, room 217 accounting for 70%. Its ledger a litany of complaints from flickering bulbs to full-blown possessions. One guest in June 2024 hospitalized for catatonia after claiming the maid's ghost, Elizabeth Wilson, tucked him in with bony hands, her ankles still shattered from the 1911 gas blast that scarred the floorboards indelible. Wilson, the head housekeeper who lit that fateful lantern during a flood-induced blackout, the explosion hurling her through the air, bones crunching on impact, yet she survived, limping back to duty until her 1961 passing, only to return as benevolent poltergeist, or so the tours spin it, though Sarah begs to differ, her sketches now charred offerings on her mantle, the Rockies forever tainted. But dig deeper, listener, and the hotel's veins pulse with more than King's fiction. It's a nexus of tragedy from the influenza orphans haunting the fourth-floor playroom, their wails sinking with thunderclaps to Freeland Stanley's widow Flora, her piano sonatas drifting from the concert hall at midnight, keys depressing sans fingers a nocturne in E minor that lulls the brave to uneasy slumber. In March 2025, a paranormal conclave documented temperature drops to 32 degrees Fahrenheit in the McGregor Ballroom, orbs swirling like fireflies in thermal cams, voices murmuring invest in Stanley steam cars, his failed venture echoing eternally. Sarah's tale joins thousands from Jim Carrey's 1994 Flea in Boxers after 3 hours of shadow men in mirrors to a 2024 TikTok viral of a bachelorette party fleeing the basement tunnels where vagrants froze in the 20s, their frostbitten pleas scratching the brick. The Stanley thrives on it. Ghost tours netting $200 a head. The Shining film set in 2025 drawing Kubrick purists and skeptics alike. Yet for Sarah, it's no show. It's survival. A vow etched in journal ink to never trust vacancy signs again. You feel it too, don't you? That itch at your nape, as if tiny hands tug your sleeve, urging you to run or stay, forever trapped in the game's cruel loop. If this chill's burrowing into your bones, prove you're not afraid to chase the shadows with us. Hit subscribe now. It's free, and you've got no excuse to hide from the haunt. How many nights will you risk for the truth? Press on, because the Stanley's not done. It's just warming up and your key's waiting. Delve into the archives and you'll find the concert hall's basement, once a prohibition speakeasy, now a vortex where a custodian's apparition tinkers with phantom tools, hammers echoing at 4 a.m., nails materializing in walls overnight. Guests waking to find their luggage rearranged in cruciform patterns, a silent sermon on mortality. In July 2024, a family from Ohio checked into 418 adjacent to 217's aura, and by dawn, the father's beard was streaked white overnight. His dreams assaulted by visions of twin girls in the hedge maze, their dresses blue as bruises chanting red rum in falsetto harmony, while the mother swore she smelled pipe tobacco. Freeland himself, lounging invisible in the wingback chair, chuckling at their terror. The hotel's EMF readings spike erratically, compasses spinning wild in room 217, as if the building's iron skeleton protests the intrusion of the living, and orbs proliferate in photos, pinpricks of light that enlarge to faces upon magnification, eyes hollow, mouths agape in silent screams. Sarah revisited in therapy sessions, her sketches evolving from landscapes to labyrinths, mazes, where figures in tuxedos wield axes, reflections that don't match her movements in the vanity glass, and always that card resurfacing in her mail postmarked Estes Park, no sender, the ink fresh as yesterday's blood. The staff whisper of maintenance crews refusing solo shifts, post-midnight tools, vanishing only to reappear in locked closets, blueprints altered overnight with corridors that don't exist, leading to bricked-up rooms where whispers plead, "Let me out," in archaic English. 2025's winter solstice saw a surge, a yoga retreat devolving into mass hysteria as participants levitated mats in the billiards room, cues rattling like bones in a maraca, the air humming with static that singed hair and fried electronics, one woman's Apple Watch melting to her wrist, time-stamped 2:17. King's own return in 2024 for the film's anniversary sparked poltergeist frenzy. His suite 424 plagued by slamming doors and crib mobile tinkles, evoking Danny Torrance's visions, while crew members captured footage of a spectral bartender pouring ethereal highballs in the Cascades lounge glasses, clinking sans hands. The hedge maze, that topiary trap from the novel, though absent in reality, manifests in dreams, guests waking disoriented on the grounds, scratches on ankles from phantom thorns, compasses pointing inward to the hotel's heart. Sarah's forum post, anonymous yet viral, tallied 1,500 replies by spring 2025 skeptics, debunking with carbon dating the card to 1911, believers sharing coordinates for orb hunts, a digital coven, converging on Estes flashlights piercing the night like accusatory fingers. The Stanley's economy booms on dread merchandise hawking red rum mugs and Wilson maid dolls that giggle unbidden, yet beneath the commerce lurks the raw fear, the primal knowing that some doors once opened swing shut on their own, locking you in with the echoes. Imagine it now. You in that bed, the giggles starting soft, building to a crescendo that drowns your screams, the drawer sliding, the card awaiting your name spelled backward, the concierge's laugh on the line. No help coming because you're already checked in, eternally. The forest outside rustles with unseen watchers, elk eyes glowing red in the underbrush, and the mountains, those silent sentinels, hold their breath, waiting for your breaking point. Sarah broke, but you? Will you endure till checkout, or bolt into the dawn, key still clutched like a talisman against the dark? The choice haunts, doesn't it? That precipice between curiosity and catastrophe. The Stanley's siren call luring the bold to its brink. What if checking into room 419 at the Crescent Hotel meant not just a romantic getaway, but unwittingly inviting the ghost of a quack doctor to carve open your soul with phantom scalpels, his laughter bubbling like formaldehyde, as your screams echo through halls where the dead never truly cured? Envision the key turning in the lock, the door sighing open to reveal not luxury but a chamber where the air tastes of rust and regret. And the shadows in the corners aren't tricks of light, but the lingering forms of patience betrayed by snake oil, promises reaching for you with fingers like surgical hooks. This is the visceral dread of the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, dubbed America's Most Haunted in the 2024 USA Today 10 Best Readers' Choice Awards, where in July 2025, Mark and Elena Torres, a Tulsa couple celebrating a decade of marriage, discovered that some anniversaries are marked not in champagne toasts, but in blood-red welts and whispers of the grave. Nestled in the Ozark Hills, like a Gothic crown on emerald slopes, the Crescent's Spanish Renaissance facade rises defiant against the mists, its towers piercing the sky since 1886, built as a palace for the gasping elite seeking mineral spring miracles, only to transmute through time into a girls' college in the 20s, crumbling to dust by the 30s, until Norman Baker, that charlatan showman with a banjo and a Bible of lies, seized it in 1937, dubbing it his Baker Institute of Radium, peddling elixirs of moonshine and formaldehyde, dissecting the desperate in basement morgues where screams harmonized with dripping faucets. Baker, convicted of mail fraud in 1940, his patients over 40 souls dumped unceremoniously, their essences seeping into the stones like ink into parchment, staining every beam and balustrade. Today, the hotel parades its horrors with ghost tours that pack the lobby like sardines in a coffin. But for the Torreses, arriving under a canopy of dogwood blossoms, it was just a whimsical whim, room 419 on the 4th floor, far from the touristed 218 where stonemason Michael clangs his eternal toolbox, or 218's Theodora folding spectral linens with sighs of the syphilitic. The drive from Tulsa had been a lover's quarrel resolved in laughter, Mark's hand on Elena's knee as Highway 62 twisted through hollows haunted by Cherokee whispers, the crescent emerging like a mirage at 3 p.m., its porte cochere yawning, welcoming valets in crisp livery, whisking their Audi away the lobby. A jewel box of stained glass skylights, raining rainbows on Persian rugs, crystal chandeliers tinkling like wind chimes in a breeze that carried no wind. Check-in was a caress, the clerk's fingers lingering on the register. "Your suite awaits, sir, with views to die for." Her wink a harbinger Elena dismissed as flirtation. Mark's arm possessive around her waist as they ascended in the antique elevator, its brass cage groaning like a dying beast, velvet walls brushing their shoulders, the ascent punctuated by dings that echoed like tolling bells. Room 419 unfolded in opulence. A king-sleigh bed carved from walnut dreams, swagged in emerald damask that pooled like spilled absinthe, a balcony framing the valley's verdant sprawl sunset, gilding the hills in molten gold, and the bathroom a spa sanctuary of clawfoot tub and rain shower steam already fogging the mirrors from phantom baths. They unpacked with kisses, Elena's sundress fluttering to the floor like a fallen petal. Mark's shirt discarded in playful tussle dinner reservations at the Crystal Ballroom, a promise of violins and vintage. But first the New Moon Spa. Elena's facial booked for 5, Mark lounging in the great hall with its roaring hearth and leather club chairs nursing a Sazerac, while eavesdropping on tour groups regaling Baker's Butchery, the air thick with peat smoke and skepticism. By 11 p.m., sated on seared scallops and stories of the hotel's heyday, they retired the elevator's descent of velvet glide doors parting to their floor's hush, the corridor stretching infinite gas lamps flickering in sconces that cast elongated shadows like accusing fingers. Inside, the door clicked shut with finality. The turn-down services mint crisp on the pillow, Eleanor slipping into silk, Mark in boxers, the bed a cloud that swallowed them whole, her head on his chest, his heartbeat a lullaby against the night's chorus of crickets beyond the panes. It stirred at 1 a.m., subtle as a scalpel's kiss, the elevator groaning to life floors below, its antique gears whining in protest, doors sliding open and shut with pneumatic sighs, as if shuttling shades between realms, the indicator arrow-jerking erratic over their door, halting at 4, then plunging to basement black. Mark stirred, mumbling of faulty wiring, but Elena's breath hitched, a pressure blooming in her ribs like invisible corset laces tightening, the air turning leaden, scented with ether and earth, the metallic tang of surgery. Then the knocks, 3 raps polite as a physician's summons, Elena's eyes snapping open to the clock's glow, 1:05, the door's peephole a void she dared not peer through yet. "Housekeeping," a voice croaked from the hall, feminine and phlegmy, gargling through a throat raw from screams. "We have a delivery for Mrs. Torres." Elena's nails dug into Mark's arm, the knocks insistent, now rattling the frame like a gavel on bone. Evolving to burrow from within the wall's dull thuds, migrating closer, as if fists pounded from the plaster's innards veins, pulsing with the rhythm. By 2 a.m., the room plunged frigid, summer's swelter banished to sub-zero, their breaths fogging in plumes, Elena's teeth chattering Morse of Mayday, Mark bolting to the thermostat, 68 degrees steady, no draft from the sealed casements. Their luggage unzipped in unison, zippers rasping like unzipping flesh, garments slithering forth like eels from a net, folding autonomous on the hardwood in diagrams of dissection, incisions traced in chiffon, sutures in silk ties, a scalpel's path mapped in Elena's lace bra. She shrieked, the sound swallowed by the din, Mark's arms crushing her as the vanity mirror fogged unbidden, words etching in condensate. Cut here for the cure, arrow pointing to her navel, the glass cracking spiderweb fine without touch. And there on the dresser materializing from ether, a straight razor Victorian heirloom etched with NB in flourished script blade, winking moonlight hot as fevered flesh when Mark snatched it, hurling it to the bath where it skittered tile like a scorpion. Whispers erupted then, not air, but wet gurgles bubbling diagnoses from the walls. Stage 4 inoperable, just a snip to drain the devil. The air shimmering like heat haze over asphalt, coalescing at the bed's foot into a figure. A nurse in starched cap and apron circa 1937. Her face melted wax cheeks sallow as parchment eyes, milky cataracts, weeping viscous tears, fingers elongating to probes that hovered inches from Eleanor's abdomen, phantom blades slicing air-burning lines across her skin without rupture, welts rising crimson like fresh sutures. They barricaded with the armoire, mahogany behemoth scraping floor like nails on slate, huddling beneath damask as the elevator dinged anew. Doors yawning outside their portal to oblivion, footsteps heavy, deliberate, circling the bed in brogues caked with morgue clay. Mark's phone app whirring EVPs later. "Help us," he lied. The tonic was toxin, pleas layered in static snow. Dawn clawed through at 6, silence crashing like a guillotine, the room innocuous as a stage set. But Elena's belly bore the brand's fading welts like love bites from hell. The razor vanished mirror whole, yet the scars, psychic etched in nightmares where Baker's banjo twanged from the basement strings of catgut from his victims. They checked out at 7 tires, chewing gravel to I-49 Eureka Springs receding like a fever dream. But the Crescent clings its tours in 2025, logging over 10,000 souls. Room 419's bookings tripled post-Torres tweet storm viral with welts snapped in harsh fluorescence. Skeptics crying, Photoshop believers flocking for the frisson. Baker's shade prowls the morgue, now wine cellar, bottles shattering sans cause, labels peeling to reveal patient charts, autopsies inked in crimson, while Theodora's moans emanate from 218, folding air into linens that drape guests in their sleep, cool as grave soil. In January 2025's Paranormal Weekend, investigators captured full-spectrum anomalies in 419, temperature plunging to 42 degrees Fahrenheit, K2 meters spiking to redline, voices intoning Elena's name in Baker's baritone. Her welts replicated on a psychic's skin miles away. The Ozarks hold more, the spring's waters bubbling with unrest, fish floating belly-up post-hunts, and the hotel's foundations, sunk in limestone riddled with caves, amplify the echoes. Caverns where Baker's discarded limbs whisper of justice deferred. Mark and Elena's marriage frayed at the seams, therapy sessions dissecting not vows but visions, her abdomen itching phantom itches, his dreams haunted by the nurse's milky gaze, promising reunion in the next life or the next incision. The Crescent profits from the plague. A room with Abu packages at $299, ghost hunts at midnight, with EMF wands and Ouija boards that spell betrayal. Yet for the Tereses, it's no game. It's gospel a warning, etched in ectoplasm. Some cures kill twice. You sense it, right? That draft at your collar, the knock 3 times sharp, the mirror fogging with your fate. If this scalpel's edge is grazing your nerve, click subscribe. It's gratis. No alibi for averting eyes from the abyss. Who's with me in the dissection? Stay tuned. The Crescent's cuts run deep. Beyond room 419, the 4th floor's corridors crawl with activity. Victorian apparitions in bustles gliding past, their skirts whispering silk over stone. One widow from the college era materializing in the linen closet, her sobs sinking with plumbing groans, towels unfolding to reveal lace hankies monogrammed with initials long forgotten. A February 2025 lockdown event limited to 60 investigators, documented shadow figures in thermal humanoid voids darting from alcoves, cold spots migrating like schools of specters, and in the crystal ballroom chairs scraping back autonomous place settings, rattling as if a banquet for the betrayed commenced, crystal stems toppling to shatter in patterns of pentagrams. Baker himself favors the mezzanine, his footsteps thudding in spat cigar smoke curling from vents, guests coughing up phlegm flecked with radium glow while the elevator that brass hearse. Ferries more than flesh doors parting on empty shafts to reveal glimpses of the morgue's slabs, stainless steel gleaming under ghostlight instruments clinking in prelude to phantom surgery. Elena's welts returned in April, blooming under stress, dermatologists baffled, scans showing subcutaneous anomalies like buried staples. Mark's recordings from that night, analyzed by experts yielding layered voices. 42 patients. Baker's tally, chanting in unison, the cure was a lie, their cadences overlapping in dissonant dirge. The hotel's archives, dusty tomes in the basement vault, chronicle the influx 1937's roster of the dying photographs, yellowing with faces gaunt as the nurses. Eyes pleading across time and one ledger page singed at edges listing Elena's symptoms predating her stay, as if the building foreknew predestined her as vessel. Tours embellish with flair, guides in period garb reenacting Baker's sermons, banjo strumming from shadows. Elixirs poured that taste of bitters. And bile, participants retching up memories not their own, flashes of operating theaters where sores whine eternal. The Ozark winds carry it further, locals shunning the springs post-hunts, water turning brackish, fish with extra eyes, and the hills' hollows humming with residual energy, compasses failing, wildlife fleeing the perimeter as if the dead demanded dominion. Mark's proposal of divorce dissolved in the deluge, Elena's visions binding them in shared torment, their Tulsa home now plagued by knocks at odd hours, razors appearing in drawers etched with NB, a cycle unbroken. The crescent endures, its spires silhouetted against harvest moons, inviting the next pair to pledge vows in its vaults, only to reap the reaper's due. Baker's legacy a poison that percolates, eternal, incurable. Have you ever pondered if booking a suite at Bawdsey Hall in Suffolk isn't merely a quaint countryside escape, but a summons to the staring gaze of a long-dead butler who watches from the windows, not with welcome but with the cold accusation of the betrayed his translucent form, a sentinel ensuring no guest leaves without carrying a piece of the manor's melancholy madness? Visualize the latch lifting on your chamber door, the hinges sighing like a final breath, and stepping into a haven where the brocade curtains billow sans breeze, revealing not pastoral views, but the hollow eyes of a servant executed for crimes unspoken. His presence a chill that seeps into your marrow, turning every creak to a confession you never meant to hear. This is the insidious unease of Bawdsey Hall, that 16th-century sentinel on the Suffolk heritage coast, where in November 2024, during a blustery ghost hunt organized by Paranormal Eye UK, a group of intrepid investigators from London uncovered not just echoes, but a full-throated haunting that bound them to the butler's grudge, their escape a desperate dash through fog-shrouded dunes, forever marked by the manor's unblinking vigil. Perched on the Bawdsey Peninsula, a spit of land wedged between the River Debon's serpentine curve and the North Sea's relentless roar. Bawdsey Hall emerges from private woods like a fairy tale gone feral, its red brick facade weathered to blood hues by salt winds, gables jagged against skies, perpetually bruised records tracing to 1588, when it sheltered smugglers and secrets. Evolving through centuries as manor, military outpost in World War II, its cellars echoing with code-breakers' murmurs and airmen's dread, now a boutique bed and breakfast, cloaked in ivy that claws the mortar like desperate fingers. The hall's allure is its isolation. A nature reserve cocooning it in whispers of wildlife, badgers snuffling under moon-silvered lawns, owls hooting dirges from ancient oaks. Yet beneath the charm lurks the butler's legend, a spectral servant from the 1940s, stationed during the war when the hall housed radar pioneers. And RAF shadows hung for pilfering silver, or so the sanitized tale goes, though whispers among locals paint darker strokes. A whistleblower silenced for uncovering espionage, his noose a crown of thorns in the attic beams, body swaying till dawn, eyes bulging at the casements in eternal watch. The investigators' 8 souls, led by veteran Robert Halliday, arrived at dusk on November 30th, 2024, the gravel drive crunching under tires like brittle bones, fog rolling off the Debon in spectral veils, the hall's lanterns flickering welcome through leaded panes distorted as funhouse mirrors. Robert, a burly Suffolk native, with a beard like Bronson and eyes sharp as flint, had orchestrated the hunt via Paranormal Eye's site, promising state-of-the-art gear and spine-tingling revelations, his team unpacking SLS cameras, spirit boxes and REM pods in the oak-panelled drawing room, where a fire crackled in the grate casting shadows that danced like imps on tapestries frayed by time. The group, a mix of thrill-seekers and true believers, included young Emma, a 28-year-old archivist from Ipswich with a penchant for Victorian hauntings, her notebook clutched like a shield, grizzled Tom, a 55-year-old lorry driver from Norwich who'd lost his wife to cancer and sought solace in the supernatural, and the rest, faces pale in the gloaming, sipping mulled cider from pewter mugs that clinked like chains. The host, a wiry proprietor named Eliza with hair pinned in a chignon, and a smile edged with knowing, handed keys to the East Wing suites. "Beware the upper floors after 10, she murmured, the butler's fond of company, her laugh a brittle leaf, skittering stone. Supper in the conservatory was a feast of local fare. Venison pie steaming with juniper, cheeses veined blue as veins, conversation turning to the hall's lore. The butler's apparition, tall in livery tails, face gaunt as famine, staring from second-story windows at passers-by on the coastal path, his gaze pinning them in place, compelling confessions of petty sins. One hiker in 2023 collapsing mid-stride, babbling of childhood thefts before fleeing inland, never to return. By 9 p.m., gear deployed, the hunt commenced in the basement kitchens, flagstone floors slick with damp copper pots, gleaming dull under REM Pod's green glow spirit box, static hissing names, Eliza, Tom, Emma. The voices layered in Cockney burrs from the war era. Temperatures plummeting to 54 degrees Fahrenheit, breaths clouding as orbs zipped across SLS feed stick figures mimicking the butler's bow, elongated arms gesturing to the scullery door locked since 1945, rusted hasp weeping iron tears. Emma's K2 spiked first lights, racing red to white, a tug at her sleeve like a child's plea, but heavier insistent. Her notebook pages flipping autonomous to blank leaves where ink bloomed unbidden. Witness the word sprawling in copperplate, dated November 30th, 1942, the day of the hanging. Tom's meter whined, electromagnetic fields surging to 400 microteslas, his voice cracking as he challenged the void. "Show yourself, mate!" And the air thickened, a pressure like diving deep. The spirit box sputtering butler, betrayed, silver for the Reich, fragments of a tale suppressed, the hall a covert site for Enigma decryptions. The butler caught funneling intel to Nazis, or so the official line, but Robert's research hinted at frame-up, his whistle on Luftwaffe flyovers earning the rope. Upstairs to the butler's pantry at 10:30, a narrow chamber off the service stairs, walls papered in faded William Morris, a dumbwaiter shaft yawning like a throat, the group forming a circle. Frank's box scanning frequencies, voices overlapping in fury. "Hung me high," they did, "for truth's too sharp. Now you pay the toll, eyes for eyes." The SLS capturing a full torso, livery crisp, face obscured by glitch but eyes piercing, locking on Tom, who gasped, "My Mary," she knew the codes too. His revelation spilling unbidden. His late wife's involvement in Bletchley Park, a secret buried with her. The butler's stare unraveling it like thread from a seam. Chaos erupted at midnight, doors slamming on upper floors, footsteps thudding in vacant suites, heavy brogues on runner carpets, the group scattering to rooms, Emma in the blue suite, 4 posters creaking under unseen weights, her REM pod alarming as sheets tucked tight around her sleeping form, cold hands smoothing the counterpane, a whisper in her ear, "Archives hold the proof, seek the beam." The attic's noose knot hiding ledgers of the damned. Tom in the green garret, shadows coalescing at the window, the butler's form silhouetted against Devon moonlight, beckoning with a gloved hand, Tom's chest seizing as visions flooded. His wife's final days. Morphine drips and whispered regrets, the butler's echo overlaying, "Betrayed like me." Fight the silence. The pain frosting with breath not his, etching Mary's name in script, elegant as indictment. Robert, in the master's chamber, captured EVPs on his recorder, the butler's monologue pouring forth. 1942, fog like tonight, they dragged me to the attic. Rope from the bell pull, silver tray. My bribe refused. Luftwaffe paths I mapped for king and country, but they called me traitor. Neck snap echoing to the sea. Now I watch, waiting for the guilty to gaze back. His voice fading to gurgles as the dumbwaiter rattled, ascending empty, crashing above with phantom crockery. By 3 a.m., the hall quaked, lights flickering to Stygian black, whispers swelling to cacophony, names and dates barraging 1943 crash in the dunes. Airman burned alive, his screams, joining the butler's dirge, the group converging in the drawing room, SLS, swarming with entities. 10 figures crowding the feed, war dead, risen their forms, translucent khaki eyes, hollow from ration tins, one touching Emma's cheek, ice that burned her, tears freezing on lashes as she scrawled in notebook frenzy, the proofs in the beam, carve it open. Dawn broke at 6:47, the fog lifting like a shroud, the group fleeing to their vans, Eliza's wave from the portico a benediction or ban, Robert vowing return with chisels for the attic. But Emma's dreams since plague her, ledgers materializing on her desk, pages chronicling the butler's innocence, Luftwaffe logs forged by superiors, his hanging a cover for their own treason. Tom's health faltered, chest pains mimicking Mary's end, doctors finding no cause but stress, yet he hears the brogues in his lorry cab, the butler's watch unrelenting. The hall's bookings surged, post-hunt paranormal eyes footage, viral on YouTube, 200,000 views. By December 2024, skeptics debunking glitches as dust motes, believers booking suites for solitary stares, windows fogging with accusations personal as diaries. Suffolk's coast amplifies it, the Debens tides washing up relics, dog tags etched with names from the logs, badgers digging bones in the reserve, their snarls echoing the butler's snap. Eliza confides in whispers to guests, the upper floors hum with unrest, since the hunt dumbwaiters ascending with invisible loads, plates shattering in sinks, with messages in shards, and the coastal path, once serene, now prickles with gazes from the Gables hikers pausing mid-stride, spilling secrets to the waves. Robert's return in March 2025 unearthed the beam, chisel biting oak to reveal hollow, ledgers crumbling to dust but photocopied in haste, headlines in the East Anglian Daily Times, Bawdsey Butler, vindicated war hero, framed the hall's value soaring as heritage site, yet the butler's peace elusive. His form now benevolent guide ushering birders to hides with gloved gestures, but to the guilty the stare remains a judgment eternal. Emma's archives expanded, a book in works, Tom's recovery tied to confessions at Mary's grave, the seas roar a requiem. Bawdsey endures, its bricks breathing history's grudge, inviting the curious to gaze back, risking the butler's unblinking truth. You feel those eyes now, don't you? Boring from the pain, compelling your own buried tales to surface, the fog closing in. If this vigil's gripping your throat, subscribe, it's free, no evasion from the watch. How many secrets will you bear? The hall waits. Deeper into the warren, the nature reserve's trails twist with residual energy, compasses spiraling at the butler's grave marker, unmarked mound under yew, wildflowers wilting overnight, petals spelling traitor in dew. Guests in 2025 report linens folding mid-sleep creases, sharp as creases in livery, scents of pipe tobacco and brine wafting from vents. And in the conservatory vines parting to frame the window's watcher, his nod a salute or summons. The Debens fishermen haul nets heavy with anomalies, rusted enigma rotors tangled with dogfish, whispers on the docks of Luftwaffe ghosts patrolling the estuary, their Messerschmitt hums Dopplering at low tide. Robert's conclave in June drew mediums, one channeling the butler's final hours, rope fibers, itching phantom the snap, reverberating in chests, revelations of a love letter hidden in the ledgers to a Norwich lass intercepted as evidence of divided loyalty, her tears salt in the sea. Tom's pilgrimage back in August, lorry parked on the drive, the butler appearing in rear view, thumb extended not for ride but absolution, Mary's spirit joining in diaphanous white, their embrace fogging the glass, peace tentative as truce. Emma's manuscript, submitted fall 2025, titles The Watch at Bawdsey, publishers clamoring for the haunt's heart, her dreams now populated by airmen, their briefings overlapping the butler's trial, innocence woven in code. The hall's proprietor Eliza expands offerings, butler-themed teas with silver service that chills hands, stories spun by fireside, guests departing lighter or laden, the coast's winds carrying their confessions seaward. Suffolk's folklore swells, the peninsula a nexus, smugglers' shades joining the fray, their cutlasses clinking in cellars, tales of buried gold cursing diggers with the butler's glare. The hunt's legacy lingers, paranormal eyes calendar booked solid, the hall a beacon for the bereft, offering not rest, but reckoning. The butler's watch, a mirror to the soul's shadows. Huddled in the tub, porcelain a futile bunker, the visions assaulted. Capone in pinstripes, cigar clenched in teeth filed to points, dealing blackjack with cards blood-backed, Holmes in frock coat, his smile a rictus of yellowed fangs, offering fair maidens chloroform kisses, Ostime's revolver spinning on the bath mat, chamber clicking empty then full, the lady in white materializing at the taps. Her veil lifting to reveal throat-bruised purple, fingers at Riley's neck mimicking the crush, breath ragged as drowning. Dawn hemorrhaged at 6:30, the tower falling still as executioners pause, Riley emerging racked welts on her throat fading like hickeys from hell. The mirror-hole bullets vanished, but her notebook pages filled with script not hers, dates and names from the plaza's black book suicides, listed with motives fabricated Capone's hits in code. Her Leica film developed later showing orbs in fedoras, eyes glowing cherry from phantom smokes. She checked out at 7 heels blistering on Michigan's pavement, the ball's aftermath confetti crunching underfoot. But the plaza pursued her apartment plagued by knocks at 3 a.m., fedoras left on doorsteps, bourbon bottles emptying overnight whispers in sleep of debts from past lives, journalistic scoops turning sour with sources silenced. The 2025 ball loomed larger tickets doubling post-Riley's anonymous expose, in the reader viral, with throat-snapped skeptics crying hoax believers, storming the tower for tours, unoffered the plaza's management, shrugging with gold room galas, yet logs tallying 12 floor spikes EMF to 800 milligas, EVPs of Riley's name in Al's growl. The loop's underbelly stirs, Calumet divers hauling bones tagged with annex laundry marks, Grant Park psychics channeling Holmes's tally, over 200 souls lured through the lobby, their essences fueling the haunt. Riley's career cratered, then crested. Her book, The Plaza's Payroll, inked for fall 2025. Therapy unraveling the visions. Capone's court receding but watchful. The lady's white a beacon in nightmares, urging unfinished tales. The Congress thrives on the toll, haunted hops at $150. Zombie crawls through the basement where speakeasy stains seep. Guests retching up 20s slang. The avenue's winds carrying rat-tat echoes to the lake. Mark Twain's quip rings true. The plaza denies nothing but denies everything. Its spires stabbing the sky, inviting the next scribe to scribe their doom. You hear the knock, feel the shadows chill, the dealers shuffle. If Capone's calling your bluff, subscribe, free as a favor, no dodging the debt. Who's anteing up? The plaza deals eternal. The gold room's ghosts gamely greet, flappers in fringe twirling to phonograph scratches, their laughter glass shatter sharp, one touching Riley's arm in dreams, cold as diamond heist ice, spilling bootleg recipes that curdle milk. The 8th floor suites, Capone's haunt, doors unlocking at random, safes clicking open to ledgers of the liquidated, names crossed in red that bleeds fresh. In February 2025, a convention of historians documented the shaft's drop, SLS cams capturing Althea's descent in loop, her skirts a vortex, screams Dopplering eternal, the pit's grates rattling with footsteps ascending wrong. Ostheim's revolver favors the mezzanine, materializing on bars, chambers spinning to fire blanks that singe brows. His wedding eve regret a fog that blinds lovers mid-kiss. Holmes's lobby loiter lingers, his cologne of ether wafting from vents. Fairgoers' shades milling the check-in, their tickets to oblivion clutched translucent. Riley's expose unearthed Ostheim's note hidden in tower vents, love lost to scandal. His shot a mercy or madness, the plaza's archive yielding more depression diaries of leaps from ledgers, bodies crumpling on Michigan spirits, ascending to patrol the parapets, their jumps replayed in wind gusts that hoist skirts and hats. The ball's 2025 iteration ballooned to 3,000, the tower cordoned but breached by bold after-parties, devolving to seances where Ouija spells vendetta plans inked for hits, unheeded guests waking with ink-stained fingers, motives borrowed from the boss. The lake's fog rolls in nocturnal, mirroring the Calumet's murk divers, in 2025 netting fedoras. Waterlogged brims curled like accusations, the plaza's economy booming on dread merchandise, hawking Tommy gun ties and Holmes hotelier hats. Yet the core festers, the building's bones aching with the unsolved. Capone's court eternal jury, Riley's throat a tattoo of truth, her voice the plaza's newest echo.